I know where I'm going. Like I said this in an interview before, but my goal isn't to, be in the UFC or fight in the UFC or be a UFC fighter. Like, it's not even to be UFC champ. Like, I want to be the pound for pound #1 guy on the planet.
Yes.
So when he said, yeah, like, let's get him another fight, like, that doesn't change my trajectory or plan at all. Like, I was happy about it because that meant I don't really have to worry so much about, like, setting up a whole nother fight, or, like, I just have to, like, they're going to take care of it and I get to fight in 6 weeks. Like, this is great. So for me, it was awesome. And again, at that point, I'm 2-0. Like, I want more fights. I want to fight before I fight for the title like 10, 12 times if I can.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll see if that actually happens. Like,
Probably not, dude.
Yeah.
You win 4. We're going real sizzler.
Yeah. So that's like kind of like where I'm at is like they're gonna take care of it. And I know where I want to be. I know my goals. So and for me, I'm gonna do what I need to do to align with that. The other stuff's gonna take care of itself. I want more fights. I want to fight. Yeah. Before I fight for the title, I just love fighting too. It's fun. If I can.
Yeah, I can tell.
And, I mean,
I think
we'll
you're gonna
see
do it, my man.
If that actually happens.
I would say this, that if you were a stock, man, I'd be all in.
No doubt. I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I've been a fan for a long time. We wanted you on the show, and then, right after your second fight, and they're like, oh, he's fighting soon, so let's do it after that. That's when the team's like, oh, we don't, I think they told you, like, oh, we don't do guys after fights. And they came in like, we're good. Get him out here. We're good.
For sure.
So I appreciate you, brother. I'm so excited for you, man. Like, you're just getting started. Your energy's as dope as I thought it was gonna be. You got this cool confidence, like, demeanor about you. You come from a good family. He's a Colorado boy, Rifle, Colorado, in the sticks with horses. You're out there, dude. There's not a lot going on out there for you, but I'm sure they'll put up a statue of you in Rifle, Colorado. But you're all over, man. But I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I know it's been a long day for you. Hopefully the steaks, were good enough, because I couldn't give you cold grilled cheese, man. But I'm just so excited for you, man. You make my life more exciting watching you fight and watching you come up. There's nothing better when someone's coming through the rankings and you're doing the damn thing, man. So good luck, brother.
Appreciate
I know you
having
got
me.
this. You're the best. And before we leave,
Oh man.
I have a splash of CT and I forgot I have to do this. So for food truck, my boys Suplex in Philly, which isn't too far from you.
No.
How far is Philly from you?
About like 3 hours, maybe.
Okay, farther than I thought.
2.5.
Okay, short plane. So my boys at Suplex Philly, I always, I'm a huge sneaker guy. Of
course.
You came with hot sneakers.
Yeah.
I will say this, I was surprised with your fashion. You got a dope Supreme shirt on, the dope ass jorts there.
Thank you.
And the thing is most wrestlers, and one of my best friends, Lisa Bowling, he's like Mr. Colorado Wrestling.
Yeah.
Most wrestlers have awful fashion sense.
yeah.
They come in with the worst fashion of all time. They just don't give a shit. They just want to break people and pin them and shit.
Yeah.
So they don't care about fashion. So when we were picking shoes for you, I was like, oh man, your dress is pretty swaggy, but you don't want to go too, like, you don't want to give him like some yellow Yeezys or something he's never gonna wear. So my boys in Suplex found these, so I said, they're Penn State colors. I figure they're not too crazy.
Love it.
Dunks are classic, they're
Look at that.
legendary. You're a legend in the making, my man. You're already a legend in Penn State, but I think you're gonna make your mark in the UFC. And this is for my boys in Philly. Said, please enjoy these Penn State dunks. Big fans here at the shop. Come by if you're ever in Philly. Suplex.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. So hopefully you rock those. Hopefully
I will.
not too swaggy.
No,
But you got some swag, you dude.
Thank you.
Dude, appreciate it.
You, bro.
You're the best, man.
Thank you.
If you're into thick boys, like, subscribe, comment, and God bless America. Well, that's not my big one. Just kidding.
Skilled labor, but it's also going to take skilled labor away. There's going to be no one answering phones anymore. It's all going to be computers. They're very close to being able to do that right now, where a computer will have a legitimate conversation with you, and you don't even know that you're talking to a computer.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Are you concerned with sentient artificial intelligence, and in terms of its military applications, in terms of there's a lot of concern that what we're experiencing now with, particularly when you talk about Yemen, with drones, with these piloted things, that what you're going to have is autonomous weapons in the future, where you're just going to be able to literally release killer robots.
I'm very concerned about artificial intelligence and how quickly this technology is evolving with very little oversight or even understanding at the highest levels of our government about both what the opportunities are that it presents and also the very real dangers of this technology being weaponized and how quickly that could spiral out of control.
What could we do to stop artificial intelligence from spiraling out of control? In particular, what could we do to stop autonomous weapons? So what a lot of people are really concerned with. Did you ever watch that show Black Mirror?
Mm-mm.
It's a great show. It's on Netflix. But a lot of it is dystopian stories about the future. And one of them is called Heavy Metal, and it's about this woman being chased by these little intelligent robots that are trying to kill her.
Yeah.
It's terrifying because this is something that could be implemented in the battlefield.
Yeah.
And we could have, if we don't do it first, we could have a situation where our soldiers are in some sort of a situation facing off against robots.
Yeah.
It sounds like a science fiction movie, but it's not that far away from reality.
Yeah. I think this is one of those things that kind of leaders in the global community have to recognize, that some kind, just like with the nuclear arms race, once you start on this race, I mean, there are no winners in a nuclear war. Everybody loses in that scenario. And I think there's a similar approach that needs to be taken to the dangers of artificial intelligence being weaponized and coming together as a kind of a global community to say, hey, this is something that could potentially, if put in the wrong hands, endanger all of us, and find the best approach to deal with that. Because my concern is, as we see with so many of these other weapon systems, if it's just one country that's doing it, then you have, well, my gosh, if everyone else is weaponizing, but we're the only ones who are doing the right thing, then is that creating a situation where our national security is at risk, or our troops are at risk? So I think it's one of those things that, this world is a small place, and we would have a shared interest with leaders of other countries in the world to provide the right kinds of checks and balances on this technology so that it doesn't become something that's a danger to humanity.
And the real fear would be that someone would not think that at all.
Yeah.
And that there would be, whatever country, figure out what the country is, that some country would be like, fuck you, we're going to do whatever we want. Look, you guys took over this world because of nuclear power. We're going to take over this world because of autonomous weapons and artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And we're going to design it to go kill Americans.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important that we take a global approach to this.
Yeah.
And because otherwise I think you end up with that scenario, and where you just, this race begins and then there's no way to stop it and it's too late.
Unlike China, the United States has, at least in perception, a clear differentiation between business and government.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the concerns that when I've talked to experts in China and their electronics and their technological innovation is that they're inexorably connected to their government
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form. And that it's one of the main reasons it makes it incredibly difficult to compete with them on a global marketplace.
Yeah.
When you see that our State Department has told people to stop using Huawei devices, because Huawei, which is the number 2 provider of cell phones in this world now, they're connected to the Chinese government. Like, how do you take that? What do you do about that situation? And
That relationship between the private sector and government here.
in particular with the competition, when it comes to data, I mean, we're very concerned about people sharing data. We've done it ourselves. We've spied on it. We've proven through the Edward Snowden case. Our government's doing it as well to us. We're worried the Chinese are doing it to us. So we're saying, don't buy Chinese stuff. They're going to steal your data and steal your information and steal your business secrets.
Yeah.
What can you do to stop that? What can you do to mitigate what's already happened?
Ultimately, you can't stop every single individual with what they're purchasing. I think that, you can regulate what is sold here in the United States. I think there's a role that government can play, especially as we're talking about artificial intelligence and that kind of technology. Again, first in understanding it, and then being that responsible party to make sure that what is being developed is not something that's going to result in these unintended negative consequences. So obviously our government doesn't have ownership over private business in this country, but we still do have sensible regulations and responsibility that government has to play in regulating what businesses can and can't do.
What's interesting to me is this competition aspect between dealing with essentially just the private sector here in America versus the private sector in China that's combined inexorably with the military, and that they have much more influence over what gets done and how things get done. What did you pay attention at all to the State Department's call for a boycott of Huawei products? Mm-hmm. What did you think about that?
Well, I understood it. I think there is a concern about that technology being used to get our information. So that can be enforced within the federal government, right? So if the State Department is saying, hey, the federal government is not going to purchase any Huawei-produced products, or cell phones, whatever the technology is, and encourage other people in the private sector to do the same.
What people are worried about over here is that what they're trying to do is stifle the development of this gigantic company. And that what they're trying to...
Huawei.
Yeah, of Huawei. Because Huawei went from having a tiny share of the marketplace about 5 years ago to being the number 2 cell phone provider in the world next to Samsung. They just surpassed Apple. And that this is a Chinese company, and that because this Chinese company is connected to the Chinese government, the worry is that they're making ungodly sums of money, and it's enhancing the Chinese government's ability to perform surveillance or just to compete, just financially compete on a global scale. And tech nerds seem to be siding with Huawei, which is interesting to me. I've read a lot of tech blogs from people that are experts, and they say that there's no evidence that these cell phones have anything in them or are doing anything, but that there has been some evidence of network devices. And some of these network devices do have some sort of a third-party input or
Backdoors
some
built
ability,
into it.
some ability to extract information that shouldn't be there.
That's interesting.
It's like when you're dealing with a situation where you're competing with a country that also controls these companies that are the biggest cell phone and electronics providers on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, how do you handle that? Like, what is diplomacy with China like?
Well, we can see what's happening right now with Trump. It's not working very well.
Yeah.
This trade war that frankly President Trump is escalating, I think, is really, really dangerous. It's having a negative impact on domestic producers, manufacturers, farmers. A friend of mine is a small business owner, and he saw the news this morning about China retaliating with Trump's escalation, I think with another increase of their tariffs, and how he's thinking like, my gosh, that's going to impact my small business. I've got, I don't know, probably less than 15 employees, and trying to figure out how it's going to impact the pricing and production, manufacturing, and everything every step of the way. What's so dangerous about what Trump is doing with this trade war that he's escalating is that these trade and economic wars can very easily turn into a hot war, and we're talking about a nuclear-armed country in China. So while there are trade differences and issues that we've got to address with China and issues with intellectual property and other things, the way that Trump is going about this, I believe, is very irresponsible and dangerous, creating a huge amount of uncertainty for American businesses while increasing tensions with one of the biggest nuclear powers in the world.
That's a scary thought.
It is. And
Do you
the
really
ramifications
think that it's possible
of this.
that could lead to a nuclear war, that this trade war could lead to something military?
Yes. Yes.
What is Trump's argument? His argument essentially is that China has been treating us unfairly, and that the rates that we're getting, they're not even.
Yeah, I mean, Trump is recognizing a problem that exists. That trade imbalance with China is a real issue.
Why does that trade imbalance exist?
Well, I mean, you can point to
negotiated?
probably a whole host of issues in trade policy. I don't think it's any one single incident that has created that imbalance, and that, I'm in Iowa a lot these days, and a lot of farmers have been struggling with that, and would like to see it fixed. A lot in the tech community would like to see these issues fixed, especially related to intellectual property. But the way in which Trump is doing it is having a very negative effect on these American businesses and jobs that Trump is supposedly advocating for, both in, really in the uncertainty that is being set, where, it looks like they're on the brink of a deal. Just the other day, it looks like, hey, okay, the United States and China, they've been working through these issues. They're on the brink of a deal. And all of a sudden, Trump sends out a tweet saying, nope, we're going to increase these tariffs from 10% to 25%. And now China is left like, okay, I thought we were close to working things out, and now left in a situation where they have no other recourse but to retaliate, as they did this morning. So you can see quickly how this thing is spiraling so out of control and increasing these tensions between our two countries, not being done in a way that to me is strategic, providing us with the certainty of that path forward to reach a specific objective of correcting this trade imbalance, which is how this whole thing began.
Why do you think he's doing that? Why would he make a tweet like that?
It's hard to explain, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't actually serve us and our interests, of our economic interests, of meeting that objective. I don't know if he thinks this is part of his masterful, negotiation skills, but it's got a very dangerous effect. And the fact that we have nuclear strategists in this country who remind us that we are at a greater risk of nuclear war now than ever before, it's because of these kinds of things that are increasing tensions between the United States and China, other things that are increasing the tensions between the United States and Russia, a country where we still have nuclear missiles pointed at each other that can be set off at a moment's notice, literally leaving us as people with just minutes before a nuclear holocaust, a nuclear disaster, nuclear war.
And you really think that this could be set off by these financial negotiations and by Trump saying something like that and just changing his offer in a tweet?
If you threaten a country's economy and their economic security, where does that logically lead? You threaten their ability to provide for their people. You threaten their ability to provide that stable environment, which China, so much of what they do is just like, hey, they look for that stability. What else, what other recourse is there other than the threat of military force? And in this case, when you're dealing with two nuclear armed countries, this is what's at risk. And it's something, it's hard for a lot of people to conceive of, like, okay, my gosh, nuclear war, really? I mean, this is something that, back during the Cold War with the kids going under their desk, these drills and okay, where do you go find a bunker? But this is something that's a reality that we're facing today. And it's something that, we in Hawaii in January of last year went through with that missile alert.
Yeah, that was
That came
crazy.
through. It was terrifying.
A fake missile alert, nuclear weapons on its way.
Right. Missile inbound towards Hawaii. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. That was the message that was blasted out to over 1 million phones all across our state, on the radio, scrolling across the television, and people immediately seek immediate shelter. Okay, where do I go? Where do I take my kids? Where do I take my family? You had college kids sprinting across campus at the University of Hawaii trying to find shelters, seek immediate shelter. But the sick insanity of all of this is that there is no shelter. There is no shelter. There are no
Anywhere.
nuclear bunkers,
No.
which really, and for people in this administration and politicians who are ratcheting up these tensions with these nuclear armed countries, bringing us to this new Cold War, they are not saying, okay, well, because we're doing this, we're going to invest not just trillions, but hundreds or thousands of trillions of dollars to make sure that every single American in this country has a nuclear bunker within 10 minutes of their home or their place of work or their school. Because that's how much time we'd have. That's what we would need in order to deal with the consequences of the decisions that they're making and the failed leadership that they're providing. And so this is an issue that I'm raising awareness about because of what's at risk. I mean, this is the greatest threat that we face. And it requires strong leadership to walk us away from this brink of nuclear war, to be able to work with other countries based on cooperation rather than conflict, de-escalate these tensions, work out our differences, and walk us back from the brink. Stop this nuclear arms race that's making us and the world less safe.
The last thing I wanted to ask you about was the opioid crisis.
Yes.
And what are your thoughts on it?
This is an epidemic that is continuing to ravage the country, and we are not doing enough. Our government is not doing enough right now to solve it. And I point to one very simple thing that could drastically help those who are dealing with opioid addiction and trying to walk down that path towards recovery, and that is ending the federal prohibition on marijuana. There has been a correlation in states that have legalized either medical use or adult use of cannabis, a direct correlation in a reduction of opioid addiction as well as opioid-related deaths. This is one thing that Congress can do now to help make progress in dealing with this opioid epidemic. Another thing, we've got to put a lot more resources towards treatment and on all of the things that need to happen after that detox, that initial detox, with folks who are dealing with opioid addiction and have lost everything in their lives, then are at the place where, okay, well, if they have gotten through that detox, now they've got no place to live, they've got no place to work, they've got no money, and to be able to provide that helping hand up as they start to put back the pieces of their life is something that we as a society need to do better at. And the third thing I'll say is we've got to go after the culprits responsible for this. When you look at companies like Purdue Pharma, who have intentionally deceived and lied and cheated the American people into taking these opioids, saying, no, they're not risky, they're not dangerous, don't worry about it, these highly addictive opioids, creating the situation that we are in, they are still not being held accountable in the way that they need to. I think it's the Sackler family, has made tons of money off of selling these opioids that have ruined and devastated people's lives. Our legislation, the Opioid Accountability Act, we introduced in the last Congress, we're going to be introducing again soon, would provide our federal prosecutors with the tools they need to hold companies like Purdue Pharma and others responsible for this proliferation of opioids criminally accountable.
And another thing that baffles me is this constant changing of the dosage, this fentanyl, and this
Yeah.
new thing that's even more powerful than fentanyl. The fact that they're developing these incredibly potent opioids.
Which the FDA has approved.
Like, I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand, why do you need them? Like,
Right.
what are they for? They're toxic. They're fatal
Yeah.
in incredibly small doses.
Yeah.
And it's not like we don't already have OxyContin, codeine. We have all these pain medications. Like, why are they insisting on letting these companies patent these superior and even more lethal versions of something we already have a problem with?
That's exactly right. It makes no sense. And I think it speaks to the huge influence that these pharmaceutical companies have over regulators and lawmakers, both. So much of this comes back to money, Joe.
You say all the right things. I love talking to you. I really
great to
I wish
be
you all
here.
the best.
Thank you.
This is, we live in a crazy time,
Yeah.
and you're a breath of fresh air. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Good luck to you.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks.
On the road.
Good luck.
Take care.
Three, 2, 1. We're back. What's up? How are you?
We're back. Aloha.
see
I'm
ya.
good. Nice
So-
to be back here.
When you first came here, you were thinking about 3, 2. Oh, list!
Oh, I'm already in. I'm already
I wanted
going.
to do it like one of the morning DJ guys.
I appreciate
Hey,
it.
Joe, I hear you're in town for the funny fuck.
I am. I'm doing the funny fuck this weekend, tonight through Sunday.
Excellent. Actually, you are working with me tonight. We
Yeah.
have 2 sold-out shows at the Hollywood Improv.
I appreciate it. I'm excited
My
to be
pleasure.
there.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be The Machine, Bert Kreischer,
Love Bert.
and Cheeto Santino, Andrew Santino. You know Andrew?
I know Andrew, but I don't know him personally.
You just
I
know
don't
of
if he
him.
knows me.
He's
Yeah,
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be a good old fucking time.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. How long are you down for?
I leave tomorrow morning. Got here
okay.
on Sunday. Oh, I got here Saturday actually, but I stayed down Manhattan Beach.
Oh, what are you doing? You been posh, hanging out with the people by the beach?
It was nice. I was down in the airport. My wife is here, and I said, let's go down to Manhattan Beach for lunch. And we were enjoying ourselves. So we got a hotel and made love and walked on the beach.
Whoa, you made love.
Yeah.
You must really love her. You made love.
I do.
Ooh. I went to a party once in Manhattan Beach, and the guy collected toasters.
Oh.
And I was like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I just collect toasters. I'm like, okay. From all different time periods. Like, he had an
right.
ancient toaster from, like, the 50s with all this patina on it, and then he had modern toasters. But I think he was trying too hard. You know, some dudes just wear bowling shoes and shit? They just try too hard to be wacky.
Yeah. Was he like a hipster or was he like an old sage?
He was a guy who was trying to fuck my girlfriend.
Oh.
And she wanted to go to this party. So I was like, all right.
Wow.
I think she was an actress, and I think he was in the movie business.
Imagine getting cucked by a toaster collector.
Yeah, almost did. Well, it wasn't. It was one of them squirrely deals where she was like, said, "I'm so not interested. I just want to go to a party for networking." I was a young lad. I had just moved to Hollywood. I did not know the ways of this goofy fucking town yet.
Yeah.
I hadn't exercised myself from Hollywood in particular.
Right.
I was still doing the thing, acting, going on auditions and shit. So it was like, when you first get here, you're like, what is this? Especially in the 90s, it was super squirrely because everybody was trying to get a development deal. And everybody was trying to get a sitcom. They kind of like let you think that was the only way.
Right.
You have to get a sitcom. You want to be like Roseanne? Don't you want to be like Tim Allen? What about Seinfeld? He got a sitcom. You should get a sitcom. Damn, I want to get a sitcom. And so everybody was out here just trying to do the acting thing. I did it for a while, and after a while, you're like, these people are not worth it.
But you did get a sitcom, right?
Yeah. I got a couple of them. Yeah, I was on a couple of them.
Seems like fun.
It's fun. Stand-up's more fun.
Yeah, it's not something I'd be interested in doing, but
If you could do a sitcom with all stand-ups, that would be the shit. That would be the shit. Like if you could do a sitcom with really good writers who are cool and all the people on the show were stand-ups, that would be fucking monstrous. But
Yeah.
it's not usually like that.
no. And it seems very, what do you call it? Corporate, and you got to do this and this,
Yeah.
and a lot of rules and stuff. It seems like a podcast.
Well, they're trying to make money, and they can't make money if people do things that get people in trouble or say things that get people angry or someone calls up human resources. Joe List was talking about his dick. And
Yeah.
The craft service lady heard it, and now there's a lawsuit.
I think with podcasts now, most of us comedians with podcasts have no chance of getting any corporate job.
I don't think that's true.
Really?
I get offered shit all the time. I think that we don't need it, though. And I
Right.
think it actually will get in the way. Have you ever written on a sitcom?
No.
Written on anything?
No.
When you write, there's a trap that comics fall into that are good writers. They get this sitcom writing gig, and it's a sweet gig. You get paid thousands of dollars a week. Your bills are covered, so you feel good.
Right.
But you're never going on the road. You're in town all the time. You're just doing sets around town, so you're pretending that you're still a comic.
Right.
But you're really a sitcom writer who kind of like has a hobby of
Yeah.
doing stand-up, and you never develop on the road. And there's a bunch of guys. Do you know Owen Smith?
It's another guy I don't know. I've met him a couple times.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
One of the best comics in the world. And he's just been spending so many years doing these sitcoms. Like, I saw him one night at the Comedy Store. I'm like, how the fuck is this guy not gigantic? Like, how does he not have a Netflix hour that everyone's talking about? How is everybody not trying to book him places? It's just because he's been doing this sitcom writer thing. He's
Yeah.
trying to break out of that.
Tommy Johnigan's another guy. You know Tommy Johnigan?
I've heard of him.
He's one of the best comedians I think there is.
He's a writer.
But he's been writing on a TV show. But he's happy. He's got 2 kids, and it keeps him off the road. But to me, it's a bummer as a comedy fan, because I'm like, I want to see that new hour. But I think he still works.
Yeah, Mitch Hedberg had a really funny bit about that, about how comedy, like when you're comedian's only job, or someone asks you to do another job.
Yeah. There was somebody, when I first moved to New York, there was a guy that was like, do you do any writing? And I was like, well, I did all that writing. I wrote all that. But that's why I never liked writing other than stand-up, because stand-up I can write all day and then go do it that night. Whereas when I'm writing like a movie or a TV show, I'm like, I'm wasting this isn't going to get made. Which is not, my therapist says that's not the way, that's not what should inspire you to write. You should be writing because it's a way to express yourself.
Your therapist is right, but then again, if you are writing something and nothing happens, it is fucking stupid.
It feels wasteful when I could be
feels
writing
annoying, right?
jokes that I do on stage.
Yeah, you just get into that sort of thing where you're just like, what am I doing here? And then it steals your thunder.
Yeah, I feel that way all the time, unrelated to comedy.
Just like
Yeah, what am I doing here?
you write. You sit down and write.
A little bit, yeah. I try to, but a lot of times I'll start writing, then I end up just jerking off. Yeah, yeah. Although I do that less than I used to.
Well, Louis said that he kept his he had one laptop that could not connect to the internet. He had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He still does that.
But if you do that, like, what if you want to Google something while you're writing?
Well, I do that a lot, and I'll use it as an excuse. I'll be writing, and then I'm like, what's the origin? Let me Google that for research, and then before you know it, I'm just going through
you're jerking
Instagram,
off.
and I'm jerking off. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you gotta have discipline. That's all. I give myself an hour. I have 1 hour that I have to write, and then if I enjoy it, I keep going. But for 1 hour, there is nothing going on but writing.
See, that's ambitious. I have to go literally, I'm not even joking, like 10 minutes. I'm like, let me do 10 minutes. And usually I'll go a little longer, because I'm like, all right. But like, now I'll do like 30 minutes, and I'm like, then you can treat yourself. I'm a child.
I am too. But I found that, obviously we came in here, me and Jeff were embroiled in a Quake death match.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we wouldn't stop to say hi. I said hi briefly.
I appreciate.
I'm
I felt
"See you in
bad.
15 minutes.
I felt like I walked in and you fucking.
You were a little
like,
early.
sweating and intense. Well, I got here early, and I'm always compulsively early everywhere.
Good, that's
I
good.
spend a lot of time just doing laps around places because I have so much anxiety. But I parked, and I was like, I'll just sit in my car for 10 minutes, and then a big
we have
guy
security.
came out and was just looking at me. And so then I was like, I think this must mean I have to get out of the car.
Yeah, he's armed.
So I got out. Oh, is he? Oh, great. Of
course.
Oh, I'm terrified. But yeah, so I got here early. I was on camera. But I would have showed up right at.
No, it doesn't matter.
All right, I
We
appreciate
shouldn't have snuck in that extra game. It's just the problem is you play one game and then it gets going, like you play for a half hour, play to 100 points, 100 deaths, and then it gets intense. And then if one guy beats the other guy, gives him a drubbing, then the other guy wants revenge, and then you have to play the second
Right.
match.
Yeah, it's addictive.
And you start off your day with 2 ass kickings.
It's like jerking off. That's 100 deaths. And
Yeah, you start off your day with 2 jerk-off sessions. You're like, man, I have a lot of catching up to do if I want to make this a productive day.
Are you still jerking off a lot?
Of course.
I feel like I don't jerk off that much anymore.
What?
Well, I have a wife and we have sex. But
Yeah,
even
I
when
do that.
she's not
I got
away,
one of those.
when she's away,
Then you jerk off?
I'll jerk off a little bit, but
How
I have
often?
less than I used to. Is something wrong with me?
Yeah.
I can still get my vagina hard. I'm just not. I'm not as interested.
Nothing wrong with that, man.
But when I'm with her, I'm very
Then you're
turned on.
interested.
Yeah,
Yes, I get it. But
Yeah.
in your free time, you've got other shit on your mind. You're,
Yes.
You're focused.
I am focused on about 5,000 things. at once.
Me too. Welcome to the world of being a comedian.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, Louis' idea is a good idea on paper to like not have anything connected to the internet.
Well, he has this. I think about doing this now. He has 2 phones, like a flip phone that like 12 people have the number, and then he has like a smartphone that he'll leave behind. So like his kids can call him, or his mother or whatever. I'm one of the 12. But like someone can get in touch with him, and you can call 911, but there's no Twitter, Instagram, whatever. So that's like a decent idea. Is 2 phones because I'm fucked up with. But then like, obviously you're friends with Ari. He has the flip phone.
That's it.
Louis has the flip phone. But what sucks is when you're hanging out with these people, they still need the shit, so they end up using your phone.
Exactly.
Like I'll go hiking with Ari, whatever, a trip, and he's like, pull up your Google Maps, can I use your phone? And they just has my phone.
How about have some discipline, Ari?
Yeah,
Get
and
a real phone.
I don't want anyone to have my phone. It's not like I don't have crazy
exactly.
porn or whatever.
Don't be touching my phone.
I don't like people holding my phone.
That's like someone wearing your underwear.
Yes, it's worse.
Hey, can I borrow your underwear? What?
You can take
Can't
my
you
underwear.
just go raw dog? Just put pants on?
Yeah,
Do you have to have underwear? It's weird.
you don't need underwear.
You do.
I sprinkle a lot of tinkle.
Yeah, but if you have a good pair of underwear, it's better. then like if you wear jeans and shit, it takes rubbing against your zipper. It shit's annoying.
Yeah, that's no good. Good
Yeah.
point. You need underwear. I take it back. I want to walk back my
Ari
underwear.
just needs some discipline. Just needs some goddamn discipline. He's such a child.
He does, but I understand addiction and stuff. It's difficult because I have it where I'm like, just don't look.
Yeah.
But I'm obsessed with my phone.
Well, I am too, but I'm not as bad as I used to be. But Ari, he realizes it. He's like,
Yeah.
he's not a loser. He's a winner. Like he figures shit out.
He's
like,
a
all
winner.
right. He's like, all right, I have a fucking problem, and I'm not getting better at this, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna get this fucking stupid flip phone that I could barely text on. Like whenever he texts me, it's like a miracle. I'm like, what are you doing here with this caveman phone? This
Yeah.
is a text message on this stupid fucking phone.
And then you have to keep it short because you can't send like
Exactly.
a long thing because it comes in like 3 pages and out of order. So it's like, anyways, I'm gay now, and then it's like, hey, I just met. It's all fucked up. Yeah, it sucks. But maybe I'm thinking about doing it myself.
Well, they're getting crazier now. They're having these folding phones that blow out to like 10 inches. Have you seen these goddamn things?
No.
Well, Samsung released it, but then they took it back because it started breaking. But it looks like a regular smartphone, but it's fat. And the reason why it's fat is you can open it up and it becomes a giant smartphone.
Oh, that seems kind of nice.
It's pretty nice if you need an iPad everywhere you go.
Right.
But do you?
No. I don't. I use my phone also as like a computer. I barely use my computer. I just write emails and shit on my phone.
Yeah, I write very few emails on my phone. I'm trying to limit my hour on the phone to 1 hour. 1
Yeah.
hour for the whole day. 1 hour of screen time.
Yeah, that's
It's
That's
doable.
impressive.
Yeah. Well, I forced it on my kid, so I'm like, okay, if she gets an hour of screen time, I should get an hour of screen time.
Right. But you're also running a business.
That's
like,
true.
You have a team. And
But I'm
shit.
also irresponsible.
Right.
I
Yeah.
have other people that pick up the slack.
It's a full-on addiction, though. It's fucked up. Like I'll go on a plane. I'll fly across the country. I'm on airplane mode. You can't even use it, and I'll find myself just looking at photos, just because I want the dopamine, where the fuck it is, of just holding and moving my phone.
Yeah.
It's really a problem.
It is a problem, and I've been doing a bit about it. About the real problem is what's next. The real problem is where does it go from here? Because it's got you hooked just looking at photos and text.
Well, I mean, I walked in. You couldn't say hello, and you were crying playing a game called Quake. So that might be the next step.
There's something about staring at that screen when you get really intense. Your eyes start watering. I swear to God, I wasn't emotional.
No, I thought your parents passed away as I pulled in. I was like, oh, this
I
guy's.
leave here, I feel like a freak. First of all, sometimes when we leave, we'll have these battles that'll go like 2 hours, and then when I leave, my fucking heart's pounding, my adrenaline's rushing. I'm like, see you later, man, bye.
Wow.
And we leave, and we're like, what the fuck? And I'm driving home. It's like literally like I just had a fight. Like you want to have a fight with somebody.
Wow, I don't have that.
Yeah, it's a very, very bad addiction, but it's really fun too. So part of me is like, I'm enjoying the shit out of this. It's really fun to play.
I think that's the key. Is just enjoy it. You got to
Yeah.
enjoy whatever decision you're making. This is
Yeah.
again my therapist tells
That's what
me.
your therapist tells you.
Yeah, well, I'm dealing. I had like a horrible diet my whole life. For like,
What do you eat?
Well, now I've changed. I'm going through a bit of a medical situation right now. I have AIDS, Joe. I came here to say.
What kind of AIDS? The good kind?
Yeah, the
Like
good
Magic
kind.
Johnson
Yeah,
kind?
yeah, kind of the fun. You lose a little weight, whatever.
But it makes you whimsical,
Yeah, I feel good. I can play basketball now.
like the Flintstones, like gay old time.
Did they have AIDS?
Yeah,
The-
they all did. That's why they're not here anymore.
What was I going to say? I got
don't know.
caught up
You
on
have a
Flintstone
medical
AIDS.
issue?
Oh, so I have this thing called silent reflux. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
It's acid reflux, but they call it silent because there's no heartburn. It's different than GERD. It just goes straight up into your like vocal cords and into your throat. So it's like fucking up my shit.
Oh no.
And I wake up with like a cough, and it's like into my. They're calling it respiratory reflux now. Where like it's almost like asthma, sinus shit.
And it's diet related.
Yeah, well, I ate exclusively. I drink Coke, a lot of like 3 or 4 Cokes a day, exclusively like a large pizza, extra marinara, chicken parm, extra marinara, Chipotle, extra hot sauce, chocolate chip cookies.
You eat garbage.
I ate like a garbage child. I'm a garbage child.
A grown-up baby.
Yeah, so I just ate exclusively that. I was in therapy, but I knew I was like, I'm fucking myself up. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna get cancer and die. And my therapist was like, just at least accept your decision. Enjoy eating shit.
Yeah.
He's like, you're eating shit and not even enjoying it. So what's the point? And he's like, accepting it would actually probably help you to eat healthier. And I was like, good point. I'll just start enjoying it. And that lasted 10 days. And that's when the reflux started, and I had to completely change my diet. So I should have had that conversation 25 years earlier. So now I just ate like shit without enjoying it, and now I'm refluxing. And I can't eat any of that stuff. I had to cut out everything.
So what did they tell you to eat now? Do you have to cut out dairy? What do you cut now?
Well, I'm going back to the doctor on Thursday. Then I'm seeing a specialist who like coined the phrase. It's like $1,000 for a consultation. But at this point, I'm
Jesus
like,
Christ.
I'm losing my mind.
How
so.
crazy is that? A doctor could charge $1,000 just talk to you.
Well, the first doctor I went to was an ENT, and they do a thing which I think is fucked up. They're like, I'm paying. I don't have insurance. I'm paying out of pocket. And they're like, oh, it's a 20% discount if you're paying out of pocket. Like I'm at a record store. Like they're like, we
weird.
give you a discount if you
Give
pay
you
up front.
cash.
And I'm like, all right, that seems bizarre. It's like my well-being.
That seems like something that someone who deals with drug dealers. Guys come in with bullet wounds. You know? You got cash?
It
All right,
seems a little-
20% off.
It's a little
Stitch you
strange.
up.
Well, I rolled up my money and put a rubber band around it and handed it to him.
We always like to think that doctors are there's something special about them. You know, they're beyond reproach. They're above and beyond. But I was reading this book called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. It's by this guy Joel Wallach, and it's all about mineral deficiencies and how many people have mineral deficiencies and how little doctors actually know about nutrition and how so many doctors are not only unhealthy but have, at least back when he wrote this book, have easy access to prescription medicine, and they're just overdosing,
Right.
and they're just fucking cooking themselves with coke.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to do like an organic-y thing. So I started eating all these salads and oatmeal and salmon.
Is that helping?
No, well, I feel bad. I've lost weight. I'm thin. I'm taking huge, like, green baby leg shits. Like, insane. Like the S with the...
Feels good, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All
it
that
feels
roughage
amazing.
comes flying out.
And I feel light, and I'm a little more defined.
That's good.
But my throat is still all fucked up. But I've heard it takes months, and I'm like, maybe my body's repairing, and it just doesn't. It takes time to whatever.
So what specifically they tell you to get off of?
Well, when I first went there, it was like the end of the day. Like I started having like a fucking panic attack because there's like white shit coming down my throat. Not the first time that's happened, folks. Come.
I get it.
All right. So I ran in there and I was like, I got to see a doctor today. I'm losing my mind. And they were like, we can squeeze in an appointment. And I think when you show up right before they close with no health insurance, the guy kind of looked and went, oh yeah, that's silent reflux. And then they print out a piece of paper from like WebMD, which is amazing to me. They just print shit out that I could have Googled. And he's like, try to cut out the spicy foods, take Prilosec and whatever. So he made it seem like it was no big deal.
Spicy foods.
Yeah.
That's interesting that they would tell you to cut that out. Like what is? Did they say what is actually causing? Like, what is the mechanism? Like, what's forcing this reaction?
Well, I think what happens is it has something to do with your esophageal sphincter.
Whoa.
Which is,
I didn't know I had one.
yeah, you do. It's, I guess it's at like, I've read so much of this shit. It's like your
Is that
stomach.
your G spot when you're sucking dicks?
Yeah, yeah, it gets down in
Probably,
there.
right?
I feel like that would be deep in there.
Esophageal sphincter.
So it opens up, and there's supposed to be some acid that comes up, but I got too much acid, I guess. It fluxes and then it reflexes. But mine, I think what happens is it gets so fucked up from diet that it becomes compromised. So it doesn't matter what I eat; it's just open like a fucking
Like a
big,
blown out asshole.
like a loose asshole. Yeah,
So, and that's from just all the acid hitting it over and over and over again.
yeah. So I got into this. There's a woman named Dr. Kaufman. I forget her first name, but she actually is in New York. That's what I'm going to see for $1,000. But she like coined the phrase and wrote all these books and stuff, and says you can fix it through diet. But I've been taking like a ton of Prilosec and shit, and
Does that
evidently,
help?
I guess I don't know what's helping, like how much worse it would be if I wasn't taking that.
Right.
But then when you get off of that, there's a thing called rebound reflux where it just comes back fucking gangbusters.
Oh no.
So I'm all
like people that take Xanax.
yeah. I used to take Xanax.
They
years
say that
ago.
I've never taken it, but they say that when you get off of it, then you get super anxious.
I don't remember that. I only took it if I was like having a panic attack, whatever. But I took Paxil for a long time, and then I couldn't come on that.
Whoa.
Yeah,
I heard
eventually
about
could.
that.
Yeah, yeah, it's unpleasant.
You and Mike Tyson had the same problem.
Oh, can he not come?
Couldn't when he was on the Paxil.
We're very similar guys.
Real sound.
We have a lot in common.
Similar in your backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
used to play with pigeons. I shouldn't say play with. Is he listening?
He's
This is
a
what's
good guy.
terrifying about this show.
He's a good guy. If
He
you
is.
met him, he's super friendly. He's like a giant bear that's like your friend.
Yeah, I'd like to.
He's like really sweet guy, but you are very aware when you're around him that he is not you. Like this is an elite super athlete
Yeah.
from the Hall of Fame. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's Mike motherfucking Tyson. And even though he doesn't even hardly work out anymore, like even when you shake his hand, it's like holding onto a brick. It's like his whole body is like he's like 5 feet wide.
Yeah, I imagine if you work, I don't know, you would probably know more about this than I do. If you work out enough for long enough and then you stop, I imagine you're going to have a base.
You definitely have a base.
Like when I was a kid or when I was younger, I was a distance runner and I stopped running distance, but I feel like now I could go run 5 miles because I used to.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel similarly like Mike Tyson could beat me up probably.
Oh yeah, he'd kill you. But
You don't
my
know me that well.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. You might have some skills. My friend C.T. Fletcher, he actually had a heart transplant 1 year ago, and he hasn't been able to do much of anything other than like very light exercise. Like he's just trying to like build his body back up. But he used to be a world champion powerlifter, and even though he hasn't worked out, like really worked out in probably like a year and a half, he still has giant arms. He's still huge.
Yeah,
You keep a lot of it.
he could probably beat me up also, you think?
He can't move that much.
Okay.
Because of the heart.
Okay.
You know, he's on a bunch of pills and stuff. But if he got a hold of you, he'd be fucked.
Yeah.
His arms are like double mine.
Oh,
two,
wow.
Two of my arms on
That's,
top of it.
that's a big arm.
He was an enormous man at one time.
Wow.
He's basically my height, maybe an inch. He's probably like 5'9", maybe an inch taller than me. And he weighed what do you say, 320 at one point? 320 pounds?
Wow.
Is a picture of him. It's so ridiculous. Like, you can't believe that a human could stack that much meat onto your skeleton.
Yeah, I wonder that if I just started really
Lifting.
because I'm like, I can't eat healthy foods. I mean, I can't eat shitty foods anymore, and I
Right.
don't drink, and I don't do drugs. I'm like, maybe I could get into exercise. Like, how big could I get? Can I get fucking?
You can get big. I
Yeah.
mean, you definitely get bigger. You're an ectomorph, which
Come
means you're
again?
tall and lean.
Uh-huh.
And tall. This is one of the reasons why, even though you were on that terrible diet, you're not built like Ralphie May,
Right.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, some people just have bodies that they can absorb a lot of sugar and a lot of bullshit. And your body obviously can do that.
Yeah.
That's C.T. Fletcher when he was 320
wow.
pounds.
Yeah,
The
that's-
fucking size of his arms. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah, that's goofy.
He's so huge. What the fuck? Those are ridiculous.
Do you know?
Anyway.
Remember the fighter Vinny Pazienza?
Sure.
He's from Rhode Island, and I was working the Providence Comedy Connection years ago. And he was at the show. We kind of met, and then he was drinking a little bit. And then after the show, we were all at the bar, and I think he was like kind of fucking around. He's like, the comedian. I'm gonna come over there and kick that comedian's ass. He was kind of like, I think he was fucking with me or whatever. But I was
Right.
like terrified. I'm a terrified human, anyways. And he's like, I want to come over there and beat his ass. And then his girl that he was with was kind of like, Vinny, no. And she was like, kind of looked nervous. Where I was like, wait, is this something? Is this like a real thing? And like everyone there was like, no, he's fucking with you. And then I was like telling the story later to like my uncle, and he's like, he's drunk. You'll be fine. And I was
What?
like, what do you mean? He's like, he's older, he's drunk.
Oh, my
And I'm like,
God.
at what point of me hitting Vinny Pazienza do you think he'd be like, all right, I'm sorry. I'm like, there's no amount of like, he's a little older, he's had a couple cocktails.
Uncles are terrible for advice.
But
But you're not their kid to like, you figure it out. They give you like really abbreviated, shitty advice.
Yeah, it's like a nice idea that I'd be like, you'll be able to handle. I'm like, no, I think he would win. He's
Yeah.
the fucking champion of the world at beating people up.
Yeah, he's a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
It'd be a real problem for you.
Yeah, I
no
would
matter
not
how
have-
drunk he was.
Yeah, I wouldn't have fared well.
Uncles. They're terrible with advice. Uncles are always buying you beer when you're too young.
Yeah.
They're always showing you things you shouldn't see.
Yeah, it's fun to be one.
Yeah, I'm an uncle.
Yeah, me too.
Do you like
Nice.
being an? You plan on shooting loads into the missus and having a real person?
No, I mean I plan on shooting loads into her, but I don't think so. My wife's a comedian as well,
Oh,
and
she doesn't want to have a kid.
No, we're a little old. I mean, she's older. I'm 37. She's 41, and someone's career has to be sacrificed quite a bit, I think, to have
Right.
a kid.
That's one way to look at it. Yeah.
And like as of right now, which it could change any time, I'm making more money on the road. Like that's the majority of our money. So it'd have to be like I got to keep going on the road.
Right.
So and then we're in New York, and it's hard to have a child.
Yeah.
They're very expensive, as you know.
They're very expensive, and New York is a weird place to raise a child. It's just weird. I have friends who raise their kids in New York, and they're like, we love it. The kids love it. We let them go wander around the streets. All right.
Do they go to like private school and shit? Because I
No.
feel like
No, they go to public.
the idea of like your 9-year-old on the subway is terrifying. Again, like with anxiety.
Right. Yeah.
Every moment I'd be like, my kid is getting abducted right now.
But you never know. Like, you could get a subway where everybody's cool, or you could get a subway where there's a crazy person. You're trapped in a tube with a crazy person.
Yeah.
It's one of the more interesting things about rolling the dice with the New York City subway is that you're just entering into a closed environment where you cannot escape for a prolonged period of time with people that you don't know. And most people are cool.
Yeah.
Most people just want to get to their job or their house or wherever they're going. But every now and then, like I met a dude. Do you remember there was a knife attack on a subway where a guy had killed a couple of people and cut one guy up, and the guy disarmed him from some moves that he learned in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, watching it on TV?
No.
Yeah, I met him. He had these giant cuts on his head. It was really intense, man.
Yeah, I would not do well. I would just be like, yeah, just cut me up. I hate
Wow.
myself.
Well, I guess when you're in that sort of life or death situation, it's just becomes your survival mode kicks in. Like you don't even know what you're doing.
Right.
Like I've talked to people that have been attacked by animals, and they say that it's just you can't even imagine how reptilian your reaction is.
Right.
There's no rational thinking at all. It's like 100% just DNA firing the switches for you.
Wow.
Mm.
I was on the subway a couple years ago, and it was empty. I was on like the back of the train, and there was like it was just me sitting there, and then there was like a guy sleeping on the other end, like he was passed out or whatever. And then there's like 6 hooligan, like young teenager, like they were acting all crazy, and they got on the train on that end of the train, and they were like spitting on the guy, and they were like, "Wake up!" They were screaming, but the guy was like,
Jesus
he was obviously
Christ.
drunk, whatever, and they were like hawking loogies on him and stuff, and like jumping up and down. And so I was just looking at my phone because it was a bad situation, unpleasant. And then they kind of turned and focused towards me, and they were like, "Hey, you fucking faggot, look up from your phone." And then I just didn't. I kept ignoring them. And then one guy was like, "I'm gonna kill you if you don't look over here." And then the other guy was like, "I'll kill you if you keep looking at your phone." And I was like shitting my pants. And this is between Queensboro Plaza and Lexington Avenue, which is a pretty long underground station. It was like doing the thing where it was like delayed. So it was probably like, realistically, it was like 4 or 5 minutes. But I was like shitting my pants. And there's 6 of them. They're probably like early 20s, late teens. I have no fighting training or no weapon where I was like, this is a bad situation. Like 6 people, you're like, I'm not gonna, I have no,
6 people's a problem.
6 people is a problem. I appreciate you saying it because a lot of people are like, I would have busted up the biggest guy or whatever the fuck. And you're like,
It's
dude.
just a tangle of arms and legs. 6 people's a real problem. The only thing that would save you, though, is that you're in a subway. And what by that is, they're not going to surround you, right? If you just put your back to the wall,
Right.
6 people, as they come towards you, they have to kind of come towards you almost single file.
I suppose so, yeah.
There's not a lot of room. You can get like 2 at a time, but you could crack one. And if you crack one, most of them start panicking. Most people don't know how to fight. If you
Right.
smash one guy's face in, and he goes unconscious, and then the other guys are there, and you start moving in on them, they have this anxiety attack, they start freaking, unless they know how to fight. And I doubt they do. Because people who know how to fight, they don't do things like that.
Right.
It's very, very rarely do you run into thugs that actually know how to fight.
But that's the problem is most people don't know how to fight. I'm one of those most of the people.
Yeah.
So the smashing in the face, I mean, I know how to throw a punch.
But I'm saying even for anybody, even for a trained fighter, if you're in a subway with 6 guys, it's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if you really know how to fight, if you're like a world champion, you got to go, God damn it. Because you could always break your hand with the first punch. That shit
Right.
happens all the time.
Yeah, it was unpleasant. I would
Yeah,
say.
it
But that can
sucks,
happen.
man.
I mean, after
Yeah.
that, I was like, maybe I shouldn't get on the last train. At least give
What
yourself
time
a
was
chance to go one. It was early. I was on my way to the show in the city. It was like 8 o'clock, 7:30.
Jesus
But
Christ.
I mean, I don't think they were even drunk. I think they were just,
Assholes.
yeah, just being wild or whatever. Wilded, I think is the term.
Were they Italian?
They were not. They were of Latino descent. I am describing what I think a very PC.
No, the way you said it, it was clear. You're demeaning.
I think Latino is good. Or is it Hispanic? I think Hispanic is bad because it's in reference directly to Spanish. So Latino is better. But that could be in reference to Latin America.
I'm
I
tired
don't
of
know.
that. That's all. They can suck my dick. I'm tired of it. I really am.
Yeah, fuck you,
Stop.
Latinos.
I'm just trying to figure out what your name is. All right?
Joe.
Yeah. But I mean,
Oh, thank
in
you.
that situation, I mean, you can't just decide that something that people used forever is all of a sudden racist. Like, here's a weird one, and I don't know why this is. You can't say Chinaman, but you
No.
can say Englishman.
I think a lot of it has to do with because the Chinese were enslaved. Is that right? They built the railroads.
Yeah.
Is
sure.
that something?
That probably has something to do with it. But you can say Irishman, and the Irish were enslaved.
There you go. So that defeats that.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm just guessing. This is
But
not my.
the Irish were not enslaved here. I mean, there were some Irish people that came over that did indentured servitude. I'm sure, actually, now that I am reading, I did read something about Irish slaves. But in comparison to African slaves, it's not even close.
Yeah, I don't know much about that Irish thing, but I know that black people, African American people, get upset when you say, "But the Irish were enslaved."
Yeah,
All
they
I know
don't-
is they
they
don't
don't
like
hear
that.
that shit. Yeah.
they're not into that
Yeah.
argument.
Yeah, it's a terrible argument.
It doesn't seem like a great one.
There's not a lot of pictures of the Irish slaves that built America.
Yeah, and I think a lot also came voluntarily or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, my grandparents. My grandfather on my father's side came from Ireland.
I think my great.
Yeah, imagine being one of those people from the 1920s. It's like, fuck it, I'm taking a chance. I'm gonna get on a fucking boat, travel across the ocean. Like, only like 50 years after pictures were made.
Yeah, it's insane. I think about that all the time when I watch Godfather Part 2. The whole time I'm like, yeah, go get him, little buddy. And then he fucking takes like the most powerful guy in the city,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's just, there's no place like that now where people just can go.
Well, that's here still, isn't it?
Well, it's not though. It's fucking hard. Like, it's hard if you're Canadian. If you're Canadian,
to get
it's hard
here,
to get over here.
yeah.
And we're connected. Like, they make it real hard for Canadians to move here.
Yeah, oh, for sure. Well, I know a lot of Canadian comedians, and they have to like prove it's. The whole idea is hilarious of a comedian trying to prove they're necessary in America. It's just a comical idea.
is funny.
They're like, can you guys write me letters that says we need more jokes? in New York.
I think we need more comedians always. I think there's a finite resource of comedians.
Well, we need more quality
Yes.
comedians. But there's
But
plenty
the
of
thing is,
comedians.
you never know. Like, I knew guys that sucked, man, for years. And I used to have this thought, either you're funny or you're not funny.
Yeah.
If you're funny, you can get funnier.
Right.
But I knew guys that used to eat shit.
Wow.
And now they're murderers.
Keeps coming back to Ari.
Oh, no,
I'm
Ari.
kidding.
No, Ari.
I'm zinging.
Ari was always funny. He always had something. Like, he was never as funny as he is now, but he always had something. He
Yeah.
was always like, this guy's going to make it.
Yeah, it is interesting when people kind of figure it out. But I think a lot of those people, they're trying to be what they think is supposed to be funny, and eventually they figure out to just be themselves. And that's how it kind of,
I think you're right.
like they're trying to do Seinfeld or something. And then after a while, somebody along the way goes, hey, just tell the thing you said in the car.
Right.
I got friends like that never made that flip, like friends from Boston, that comics, that have like the biggest disparity in funny offstage to funny onstage of anybody, where it's puzzling. Where I'm like, you're the funniest person I've ever met, and you've been eating shit for 20 years. And it's like, why? How does that not
That used to be
translate?
Joey Diaz.
Interesting.
Joey Diaz is the funniest guy I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody funnier. And Joey Diaz, when he first started out, I didn't meet him when he first started out. I met him, I probably met him 4 years into his career. I met him in 95, I think, or 96, somewhere around then. And he just couldn't figure it out on stage. And then around 98, I used to take him with me on the road. Around 98, he just caught this wave. And I'm saying within like 6 months, he went from having rough sets to fucking annihilating.
Wow.
He also gained, during that time, at least 80 pounds.
Maybe
He
that's
he
funny.
just didn't give a fuck anymore. Like, something clicked where he didn't give a fuck anymore.
Right.
He started eating whatever he wanted to eat. He was partying like a madman, and he would go on stage just didn't give a fuck, and he was so funny. It's like he figured out the formula. He was trying to do the actor thing. He got sucked into that thing that we were talking about, where you want to get on sitcoms, you want to get auditions, you're going out for movies, and then after a while, he just got fucked over too many times and dealt with too many people, and he realized that he was like kind of tailoring his act for those assholes.
Yeah, I love those moments in any artist, with music or whatever it is. All I know is music and comedy, really. But when they fucking finally get into that, in the rhythm of like figuring out who they are and what they are, and then you're like, oh wow, this is special to
Yeah,
watch.
it's cool to watch too for like a person who's trying to do it themselves, because you see all the elements and the qualities that they've sort of embraced that have helped them, like the authenticity and their real thoughts, and and what their honest self-deprecation, and all the things that you see that just all sort of fall into place. And then you can kind of examine your own self.
Right. Yeah, maybe I can do that.
But that's the thing about comedy, I think, is like we don't exist in a vacuum. We all influence each other.
Right.
Sometimes too much, like people do the Attell voice.
Yes.
There's so many guys that do that voice.
Yes.
And it's ruthless when you see people doing it. Like, God, you got to pull them aside and go, hey, man. And I'm an Attell fan, too, which
Right.
got to back off the Attell voice.
Yeah, that happens. It goes in waves too. Remember when I was like in the early 2000s, it was a lot of Dane. People were doing a lot of Dane. I used to say ADI was my term of another Dane impression. There'd be all these guys that walk out and they're holding the mic in an impractical way. It works for him. They're kind of like and doing these weird movements, and you're like, I think that's kind of his thing.
Cute young guys, and they're trying to put on baseball hats everywhere they go.
Yeah. And they come up with their own way to do a handstand on the stool.
Dane got mad at a guy once because he was wearing a Boston hat.
Oh,
He's
interesting.
like, that's my thing.
Oh, wow.
I wear a Boston hat.
I'm wearing a Bruins shirt. I hope that's okay.
I don't know, man. You got to check in. Come to this town.
I'll send him an email.
Are you from Boston?
I'm from Whitman, Massachusetts.
No
I
shit.
started there. I was there for years, yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Newton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A lot of comics from Newton.
Really?
Well, not a lot. John Fish, I don't know if you know John.
No.
He's a New York
New York
guy.
guy?
And then Louis. So
yeah.
that's three. But three is a lot.
That's
Come
a
from a
lot.
relatively small town.
Newton's a weird spot. It's like it's idyllic. If you go there right now, it's like, it's beautiful, little cute, little sweet little town.
Yeah.
When I was growing up there, it seemed like a frozen shithole.
It was, I think, I could be wrong on this. I think Newton was once labeled the safest town in America. They had gone the longest distance without a murder. Or like I think they were basing it off murder or something. And then shortly after that, somebody was killed. It was like they jinxed it.
Yeah, they probably wanted to set the record.
Yeah, and then
They
someone
wanted
was
to be the person to break it.
Yeah, someone was like, fuck that, and then
Yeah.
they murdered it.
It's a good place.
Yeah.
It's nice. Boston's a great place to grow up, but I think it wears on you. All my friends who live there, when I still have a few buddies that live there, and I talk to them like, man, I don't know how many more winters I can fucking take.
Yeah,
These winters.
I got a buddy that just moved to Key. He's moving to Key West July 1st, and he's like, I'm tired of shoveling, and it's a hard city. People are fucking angry, and the
angry.
traffic, and there's like inferiority complexes.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a great place to, I think, influence you, and then you got to get the hell out of
It's a
there.
horrible place to date.
I never. Well, I mean, I did date there, but not.
That accent, you find a woman with that accent, it's a boner killer.
It's not a pleasant accent on a woman. Yeah, it's not good.
On a dude, it's fun. I hear a dude with that accent, I said, that'd be a good guy to drink with.
Yes,
Listen to him.
I agree. There's most definitely a double standard
Yeah,
with that.
but
What
you-
accent are you turned on by? It's
Southern.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Texas.
Yeah.
Woo, that's the best.
Yeah, I like-
Australian, I like Australian.
I like an
I
Irish.
like English. I
Yeah.
like Irish.
Australian women. I've only had sex with 2 Australian women in my life, but both.
Stop bragging, bro.
But both. This is it. Well, it's gonna get worse. Both women individually requested that I come on their face.
wow.
So I don't know if that's an Australian thing.
Must
You'll have
be.
to call in if
Must
you're an
be
Australian
cultural.
woman.
Must have something to do with the lack of sunscreen out there. You know, they have a hole in the ozone layer.
That's true.
She's looking for a coating.
But 100% of Australian women, as far as I've tested,
Like a
enjoy
load in the mud.
Yeah, yeah. A load in the
Interesting.
mud.
Do you think if you were a girl, you'd like a guy to come in your face?
I've talked about this before. I think if I was a girl, I would be a fucking wild
pig.
animal. Yeah, I'd be cum in my eyes. Because I'm a man and I want to come in my face, you know?
So, yeah, so imagine.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd be just
running around,
sucking
tramping it up,
all the dicks.
giving
yeah.
everybody something,
Yeah.
some kind of disease.
And I got stuff to give them, too.
Do you got a bunch of them?
I had HPV, that goes away. I got
How's it go
married.
away?
HPV goes away.
No, you still
It
have
does.
You shoot a dirty load into someone, you can give it to them still.
Well, I believe I could have got bad info from my ENT, but
Pretty sure you did. Pretty sure you keep that shit.
Can
for
we
life.
look this up over here? I think HPV does go away if you stop having
think-
sexual intercourse with different people.
Oh, but I think it goes away for you. But I think it's still in your blood, and I think you can still give it to people.
Oh, interesting. Well,
So don't be lying to people and shooting them.
I only have sex with
Oh,
one
Jamie
person.
just put his finger up.
I knew it.
Just from the quick response.
In most cases, HPV goes away on its own. It does not cause any health problems. But when HPV does not go away, it causes health problems like genital warts and cancer. A healthcare provider can usually diagnose warts by looking at the genital area. What?
Yeah.
What kind of fucking healthcare
just
provider
summary.
can usually diagnose warts by looking at them?
Yeah, you can
Oh.
also do that. Comedians can also
You can
diagnose
see warts. You go, oh, that's a dick wart. Interesting.
Yeah, I had that. I went to Planned Parenthood, who do more than abortions. They'll take your warts right off. They put a little thing on there, and boom.
Here it says there are currently no cure for existing HPV infection, but for most people, it would be cleared by their own immune system, and there are treatments available for the symptoms it can cause. You can get the HPV vaccine. Oh, they have a vaccine now.
That's only for young people, though. We're too old.
Problems, apparently.
Causes
That's been
problems?
caught- Yeah.
What does it do?
I don't know
What did
exactly.
it do to you? Don't lie.
I did not get it.
You got it,
They just
bro.
started giving it out recently. I think in the last maybe less than 10 years.
But you got to be, you got to get it like before you're 18.
What if it
or
makes you
something.
really horny?
That'd be ideal, right?
I don't know.
If it cures it.
I guess it cures it.
But I had that. But so it does go away.
Did you ever hear about? There's a story about a drug called Re-Equip, and it was a medication for Parkinson's disease. And GlaxoSmithKline lost a judgment in court. I think it was the tune of $600,000 American, because it turned a guy into a gay sex and gambling addict. All he wanted to do was hook up with guys online and gamble. And it can't, but listen, I know it sounds crazy, but they lost the lawsuit. Like a pharmaceutical drug company lost the lawsuit, and the jury awarded this guy
What?
more than $500,000.
How did he prove that all he wants to do is fuck guys?
That's a good question. But they did. They proved it to the point where this guy won money because he never had any problems like this before. Took his Parkinson's medication, and it just
Wow.
short-circuited his brain. He started sucking dick and rolling the dice.
I'm gonna sue Starbucks. I've been drinking their tea, and now I want to get come on. Come on.
Came on.
They can't prove I don't want to be get cummed on.
Something about their tea. It's not organic. There's fucking Roundup in their tea.
Yeah, something's up, but I want some loads.
Well, they're starting to pass out lawsuits against glyphosate. Speaking of that, Roundup, that shit, $2 billion, and another guy got $5 million. Well, he needs a better lawyer, right? Because his lawyer got him $5 million. The other people's lawyers got him billions.
What's the drug?
Oh, it's not a drug. It's Roundup. It's that weed killer shit.
Oh,
Monsanto
okay.
weed killer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it gives people cancer, and they're finally passing down these massive judgments against Monsanto.
Wow.
Yeah, the weight of it all. See, Monsanto jury hits Monsanto with $2 billion judgment. But there was that one, and then there was another one for $5+ million. That guy's got to be pissed right now. How the fuck did I only get $5 million?
Now, $2 billion, is that exact, or are they rounding up? Hot dog. Count it.
You should open with that tonight at the Improv
I will.
on Hollywood.
Hey, folks, you hear about this this thing called Roundup?
Most people don't even know what it is.
No, I
Unless
didn't
they're
know.
like serious GMO haters. They're people that are like super organic and they don't want any pesticides in their food. That's one thing that people need to understand if you're buying vegetables and you eat a lot of vegetables. It's very good for you, but man, there is a lot of fucking pesticides out there.
This is what's bumming me out. The more I do, because I always just ate garbage or whatever without thinking about it. Now, the more research I do, the more I'll read about, because I like to read health benefits of the food I'm eating while I'm eating it, because it makes it feel like, oh, all right, I'm doing something good.
Right.
But then at the bottom of the page, like, if you eat too much broccoli, you'll shit your blood or whatever. There's always
Yeah.
something, or there's pesticides or whatever the fuck.
Oxalate. Yeah, have you heard of a carnivore diet? You heard of that?
Sort of. I assume it's just meat.
It's just meat, just steak. And there's a lot of people that do it, and people with autoimmune issues have huge reactions, positive reactions.
Really?
Yeah, my friend, he was having receding gum disorder, went away, and they say that shit never goes away. He lost 50 pounds. Jordan Peterson.
Oh,
You know who that is?
yeah.
He's on that carnivore diet. He's been on it over a year. Just got his blood work tested. A lot of people are like, you shouldn't even recommend that. It's so irresponsible. And there's arguments both ways, man. There's arguments that eating only vegetables is irresponsible because large-scale agriculture is like terrible for the environment. It displaces all this wildlife and animals, and
Right.
in most cases they're using something to kill the weeds. In most cases they're using glyphosate or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, fruit to me is always like, that's healthy. And then people are like, oh, there's sugar and you're
There's
whatever.
fiber. Fruit's fine.